Welcome to Laphroaig. My name is John Campbell and I'm the distillery manager. I've been here for 26 years, third generation, both father and grandfather have worked here. I'm also an Aelach. What's an Aelach? An Aelach is a native of the island, and I'm the very first Aelach to have run Laphroaig in its 200-year history, so that's something I'm very proud of. The process itself is different at Laphroaig. There's a few things we do differently. We all use the same process, but there's different nuances here at the distillery that I'll be taking you around and showing you just as to what goes into making Laphroaig the unique spirit that it is. So let's go and have a look, share a dram and enjoy. First, a bit about Laphroaig's history. Laphroaig has been here for over 200 years now and has had lots of ups and downs throughout that history too. Started off with Alexander and Donald Johnston in 1815, and all the way through, right through until the 1970s, we were an independent company. Lots of great characters in our history: Sandy Johnson, Dougal Johnson, Ian Hunter, Bessie Williamson, all had their influence on this site and made it into what it is today, which is the world's biggest peated single malt. We're here in the floor maltings, and this is the barley growing all around me. There are over 100 distilleries in Scotch whisky industry. Only 6 or 7 do this process. To make a single malt Scotch whisky, you need 3 ingredients. You need water, you need yeast, and you need malted barley. What do we do when we produce our malted barley? Well, basically we take barley in, we'll add water to it for 3 times over 2 days, and we've tricked it into thinking it's springtime. Starts the germination process again. So we then lay it out on the floor and we let it germinate. And what's happening when it's germinating, inside each corn there's a wee embryo, and it grows a root along the length of the corn called the acrospire. And what this acrospire does, it puts enzymes down into the starches so that when we add hot water in the next stage, they become soluble starches or sugars. So sugar production. So we'll control the growth of the enzyme and production over 6 or 7 days so that the sugar production is maximum. We then want to stop it growing because then it would use up all this sugar to produce the wee green shoot. So we stop it just before that cycle happens. But before we stop it, we have to flavour it. And if you know Laphroaig, it's going to be heavily flavoured. And this part in the kilning, where we'll dry and flavour, is the bit that makes Laphroaig unique within the Scotch whisky industry as well. So what we do, we flavour first and then we dry. Every other distillery with a floor maltings and every commercial maltings will flavour and dry at the same time. It's just more efficient to do it that way. Why we flavour and then dry, and we do it at a very low temperature as well, so we call it a cold smoking process. Why we do this is we get a different, group of smoke flavoured profiles by doing this. So we get a different taste. So the peat we use in Islay is very different as well. Different geology. So Islay, the bottom half of the island, came out the sea 450 million years ago. So the base of this peat is seaweed based, whereas if you go to mainland Scotland, the base of the peat is woodland based. It's based in the old Caledonian forest. So now you start to see, right, this is the base of these peats. So we're now in the still house here at Laphroaig. We've got 7 stills here. First distillation with the red band round the middle here. Second distillation with gold and black bands round the middle. So 7 stills is a bit strange, and it's not a triple distillation here as well. So in this first safe, we'll get the beer into these wash stills. We'll boil it up and we'll take our 8% volume beer from the mash house we'll get 35% volume low wines. We will distill all the alcohol out of that and then put it into one of these 4 stills in the second distillation. What we do here, we'll do the same process, boil all the alcohol up again. We'll then cut it into 3 parts. First part is heads, then the hearts, and then the tails. Laphroaig has the longest heads run in the Scotch whisky industry. So we run it for 45 minutes before we start to collect spirit. And this is one of the key things that will make Laphroaig different. The reason we cut later and deeper than any other distillery is to get these really heavy, smoky, phenolic flavours coming through in the new spirit. The big one at the end as well, it was put in the 1960s. What it does, we run it too fast, so it carries over some solids into the liquid as well. So that adds some lovely, grassy, oily, kind of more depth into the whisky as well. So what's added when we're adding these both together, it gives us lovely depth in the Laphroaig single malt. Okay, so the maturation here in Islay is different as well. We just have a different climate to mainland Scotland. So what that means here at Laphroaig and in these warehouses, we have a higher loss because in the winter we're basically warmer. So the whisky is maturing all year round, and that means we get about 25% losses in each one of these casks during the maturation period. Whereas if you mature in mainland Scotland, it'll be about 20%. So what does that mean? Well, if you've only got 75% left versus 80%, you'll have a different air to liquid balance. So you get different oxidization, so different characters and different flavours being produced inside the casks on Islay. So one of the reasons why we mature in Islay is because, well, we always have, but to keep it the same as well. So it might be more kind of cost effective to keep it in the mainland, but these flavours are really, really important to the overall flavour of the distillery. You see the walls, the floors, everything is damp, it's dank, it's a different atmosphere in these warehouses as well. This building goes back to the 1930s when this bit was built, but the 1830s when it was originally built. So this is one of the original buildings of the distillery. It puts so much flavour and character into a whisky, and you absolutely should be able to get that in a glass. So another thing that makes Laphroaig unique is we're the only single malt with a royal warrant. And what does that mean? It means we supply the royal household with whisky. So come on in and we'll have a wee dram now. So this is 10-year-old Laphroaig, and this is the main brand at the distillery. And as we've taken you around, we've gotten you used to all these flavours, the peat fires, the mashing, the beer in the mashing, the distillation and the flavours that produces, the small stills, the big stills, the maturation in the warehouses. We're right beside the sea. We should get all this in the glass. So, hope you've got yours poured too. What you should get when you nose Laphroaig is a lot of these things we've just talked about. So, put your nose into the glass. First thing I actually get is the vanilla. That's coming from the barrels, the ex-Maker's Mark barrels. So we dash the vanilla up front. Go in again. Now it might take your nose 2 or 3 attempts to get going. You need to get yourself settled, tuned into Laphroaig. I'm kind of well used to doing it, so maybe take you 2 or 3 times. So getting there now, lots of peat. I get lots of salt in this one. So how do I know salt? It feels kind of dry at the back of my nose, and that's the feeling I'm getting with this one. Very much, it's kind of like I'm smelling the atmosphere on the outside because I'm lucky enough to be at Laphroaig. You put your nose in the glass, and it's very similar, but just with a vanilla twist, basically, from the bourbon barrel. So we should have a wee taste, and a wee toast. So here's to us. There's none like us. God damn the rest. Slange. So you'll get the body first, nice kind of creamy body coming through. Some of these lovely vanilla notes coming through. I get a lot of fruit in this one. It's moving back along my tongue now. start to get some of the spice from the American oak coming through. And then slowly and slowly the peat starts to build at the back of my mouth, coming up from my throat and sitting right at the back of my tongue. And it feels kind of like licorice root to me. And underneath my tongue at the same time, salt receptors are jangling. You might start to get some of that lovely kind of sea salty flavour you get in a Laphroaig. So it's almost kind of maritime feeling now at the back. So with or without water, again, that's up to you. If you like more of the kind of earthy medicinal iodine, add a couple of drops of water. That will change this one. Okay, so you've been round the distillery, you've seen the process, you now know what goes into making this spirit unique. We just need to get you here. So I look forward to welcoming you here, hopefully in the not too distant future, and then we can share a glass together. Here's to seeing you soon. Slange.